At dinner, my son's wife said, "This is your last dinner, you're moving into a nursing home." I knew something was wrong the moment my son pulled out my chair for me at the dinner table. He had never done that, not in the 42 years since he learned to walk, and certainly not in the 20 years since he moved out. It wasn't the gesture itself. It was the tightness in his jaw, the way his eyes avoided mine, the way his wife hovered behind him like a storm cloud ready to break. And honestly, I had no idea that the breaking storm would come from her mouth. "This is your last dinner with us," Melissa said, gripping her wineglass like she wanted it to shatter. "You're moving into a nursing home." Just like that. No warning. No conversation. Just a sentence delivered with the finality of a slammed door. I stared at her, at my son, at the plate of roast chicken that suddenly turned to cardboard in my mouth. It was my birthday, 75. I had expected maybe a toast, a slice of that lemon cake I like, a quiet evening, not a life sentence. My son Daniel swallowed hard. He looked as though the words had been ripped out of him. Melissa, meanwhile, wore her expression of self-righteous firmness, the same one she used when she told Daniel to put his foot down about anything from Christmas plans to how long his mother should stay during visits. I didn't say anything at first, I just set down my fork, and everything in the room, everything in my life shifted. 2 weeks earlier. The decline had been real, I couldn't pretend otherwise. I had fallen in the backyard, tripped over a loose stone. It took me 10 minutes to get myself up. A neighbor saw and called Daniel, and he arrived panic-stricken. Melissa arrived annoyed, muttering about how we can't play this game forever. My hands shook sometimes. My memory was not bad but not perfect. Sometimes I lost my words like they had slipped through my fingers, but I wasn't helpless. I could still cook, still garden, still drive short distances. I was managing. But Melissa saw managing as inconvenient. I knew she'd been pushing for this. Daniel had tried to reassure me, saying they were just looking into options, but I knew the tone of that woman. Options meant decisions already made. I just didn't expect the announcement to come over roast chicken and potatoes. Back to the dinner table. "Dad," Daniel finally said, his voice cracking, "we just want you to be safe." "And you'll have professional care," Melissa added, pretending to soften, though her voice was still sharp as cut glass. "People who actually know what they're doing." People who weren't her, I thought bitterly. I breathed slowly, keeping my face steady. "So," I said, "this is already arranged, I suppose." Daniel's shoulders collapsed. "We toured a place last week, it's nice, really nice." "You toured it," I said quietly, "without me." He winced. "We thought it would overwhelm you, Dad." I looked him dead in the eye. "What overwhelms me, Daniel, is sitting here being told, on my birthday, that my life is no longer my own." Melissa rolled her eyes. "We didn't mean it like that." Of course she did. Daniel opened his mouth to speak, but Melissa was faster. "You fell, Robert, you fell. That should have been your wake-up call. You could have broken your hip or worse. And you think a nursing home is the answer. It's the responsible answer." I sat back in my chair, heart pounding but mind clearer than it had been in months. "Melissa, let me ask you something. How many times have you visited your parents in the last year?" Her lips tightened. She set her wineglass down with unnecessary force. "That's irrelevant." "It's not, because I know how you operate. You push things away when they become difficult. You distance yourself." Daniel whispered, "Dad, please." But the truth had been building in me for too long. "I want to hear it," I said. "I want her to say why she's so eager to put me away." Melissa leaned forward, folding her arms. "Fine, because I'm tired, because Daniel is tired, because every week it's something new: your pills, your doctor appointments, the yard, the house, the repairs. We have 2 kids, 2 jobs, and we can't keep dropping everything to rescue you." Rescue. As if I were drowning. Daniel closed his eyes, pain etched into his forehead. "Dad, we're doing our best," he whispered. "We love you, we're trying." I took a breath and looked at him, my boy who used to run through sprinklers in the backyard, who asked me to build him a treehouse, who cried into my shoulder the night his dog died. And now he was sitting across from me, unable to meet my eyes. "Daniel," I said gently, "look at me." He did. "You're not putting me in a nursing home." Melissa scoffed. "You don't get to decide." "I absolutely do." The room stilled. "I'm not going because I fell," I continued. People fall. I'm not going because you're busy. Everyone is busy. I'm not going because I'm incapable. I'm going to stay in my home. Melissa threw up her hands. And who's going to take care of you then, because it sure as hell won't be us anymore. I nodded calmly. Good, I don't want it to be you. Daniel flinched. I mean, I added softly, I don't want it to be a burden. Melissa muttered under her breath, you already are. That did it. Daniel shot up from his chair so fast it slammed backward. Melissa, that's enough. Her eyes widened. Daniel. No, you don't get to talk to my father like that. The shock on her face was almost comical. She wasn't used to Daniel raising his voice. He was the quiet one, the peacekeeper. But I knew that look on him. It was the same one he had when he punched a kid in 7th grade for making fun of his sister's disability. He could only be pushed so far. Dad isn't a burden, Daniel said, voice trembling with anger. And you don't get to push him somewhere because you're tired. He raised me. He helped raise our kids. He's done everything for this family. Melissa blinked rapidly. Daniel, don't make me the villain here. I'm thinking about his safety. And you're thinking about your convenience, Daniel shot back. For a long moment, no one moved. Then I stood. I appreciate your concern, I said to Daniel. I truly do, but I have my own plans. Melissa scoffed. Plans like what? I smiled slowly. 2 words, I'm moving. I sold the house. Both their heads snapped toward me. What? Daniel whispered. My house has been on the market for 3 months, I said calmly. It closes next week. Melissa's jaw dropped. You what without telling us? I shrugged. You toured nursing homes without telling me. I figured secrecy was the new family policy. Daniel stared at me stunned. But where will you live? I've rented a small cottage, I said, on the coast near the walking trails, 1 story, no stairs. There's a community center with fitness classes, game nights, a book club I might join. I'll hire a part-time caregiver for the things I struggle with, the rest I can handle. Melissa sputtered, That's ridiculous, you can't just move away. But you can just put me in a nursing home. She fell silent. Daniel sat down slowly, rubbing his face with both hands. Dad, why didn't you tell me? Because, I said, I knew you'd try to talk me out of it, and because you deserve to live your life without feeling like you have to choose between me and your marriage. I won't be the wedge. Melissa's face reddened. Daniel looked between us, torn open. Dad, he said quietly, I want to help, I don't want you to leave. I placed a hand on his shoulder. You can visit, bring the kids, stay the weekend if you like, but I will not live my remaining years in a place chosen out of guilt. Melissa looked away. Daniel swallowed hard. Are you sure about this? I nodded, for the first time in a long while, yes. A month later. The cottage was small, cozy, sunlit. My garden was modest but growing. My caregiver, Mia, was kind, efficient, and miraculously unbothered by my occasional forgetfulness. My days were calmer, my nights were peaceful. And Daniel. He visited every Saturday. Alone at first. Eventually with the kids. Melissa didn't come. Until one afternoon, I opened the door and found her standing on the porch, twisting her wedding ring. Can we talk? She asked. I stepped aside, of course. She looked around my cottage at the books on the table, the half-finished puzzle, the humming kettle. It's nice, she said quietly. Thank you. She turned to me, tears hovering. I'm sorry. I nodded but said nothing. I was scared, she whispered. I didn't know how to deal with everything. I felt like I was losing control of my own life and I took it out on you. I nodded again. Thank you for saying so. Daniel said you're happier now. I am. She swallowed. I'm glad. We stood in silence for a moment. Then she said, can I come again? And I smiled, of course. Life continues. I didn't move into a nursing home. I didn't lose my dignity. I didn't lose my family. What I gained unexpectedly was peace, independence, and the chance to live on my own terms again. Because sometimes the last dinner isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of the life you didn't realize you still had left to live.